Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In the last video we have covered the lateral ventricles. In the continuation of the ventricles, in this video we will see the third ventricle. Those who have not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe now. Keep watching the videos. Third ventricle we will see under the following headings: situation, extent and shape, communications, boundaries of third ventricle, and in addition we will add the details of each boundary, recesses of third ventricle, tela-choroidea and choroid plexus of third ventricle. We will also include the applied anatomy in the last. Third ventricle is the cavity of diencephalon. It represents the primitive cavity of the forebrain vesicle. If you see this third ventricle, this is the third ventricle. It is a midline slit-like cavity situated in between the two thalami and the part of the hypothalamus. That is the situation. The cavity of the third ventricle is lined by a ciliated columnar epithelium which forms the ependyma and traversed by a mass of grey matter, that is the interthalamic adhesion connecting the two thalami. So this cavity is traversed by the interthalamic adhesion. So that is the third ventricle situation. So we have seen already this is the lateral ventricles and this is the third ventricle which communicates with the lateral ventricle through the interventricular foramen of Monro, and this is the interthalamic adhesion. Extent of third ventricle: it extends from the lamina terminalis anteriorly. So this is the lamina terminalis anteriorly to the superior end of the cerebral aqueduct of midbrain posteriorly. So this is the cerebral aqueduct. So this is the superior end of the cerebral aqueduct of midbrain posteriorly. On coronal section, third ventricle is slit-like and outline of the cavity is very irregular due to the presence of several recesses or diverticula. Communications of third ventricle. So this is third ventricle, already we told this is communicating with the lateral ventricle through the interventricular foramen of Monro, and here it is communicating with the cerebral aqueduct. Anteriorly on each side, the third ventricle communicates with the lateral ventricle through the interventricular foramen of Monro, and posteriorly with the fourth ventricle. So this is the fourth ventricle which is communicating through the cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. Third ventricle presents anterior wall, posterior wall, roof, floor and two lateral walls. Anterior wall is formed from before backwards by the lamina terminalis, anterior commissure and diverging columns of the fornix. So this is the third ventricle situation. This is the anterior boundary which we have seen, which is formed by the lamina terminalis and also the anterior commissure and diverging columns of fornix. So these are the fornix. In the front it will form the diverging columns of fornix. Lamina terminalis, anterior commissure and diverging columns of fornix. So this is lamina terminalis, anterior commissure and diverging columns of fornix, which is forming the anterior boundary. Lamina terminalis. What is lamina terminalis? It may be asked as very short notes. Represents the cranial end of the primitive neural tube, extends as a thin sheet of grey matter from the rostrum to the upper surface of optic chiasma. So you should note this is grey matter. What is anterior commissure? If it is asked as short notes, belongs to both allo and neocortex. So it is a both allocortical commissure and neocortical commissure. It is a small compact bundle of commissural fibers which stretches across the midline in the substance of lamina terminalis. Columns of fornix. Fornix is a white matter starting from the hippocampus, formed principally by the projection fibers and partly by the commissural fibers of the hippocampus. Consists of triangular body, diverging crura in behind and diverging columns in front. So this fornix, if it is asked as short notes, you should write it is from the projection and from the commissural fibers of hippocampus, and its shape is consists of a triangular body in the middle, diverging crura behind and columns in the front. So we have completed the anterior wall. Now we will see the posterior wall from above downwards by pineal gland, posterior commissure and commencement of cerebral aqueduct. So this is the anterior commissure, we have anterior boundary we have seen. This is lamina terminalis, this is anterior commissure, and this is the diverging anterior columns of fornix. So here is the pineal gland, posterior commissure and the starting of the cerebral aqueduct. So that is forming the posterior wall. So pineal body, posterior commissure and aqueduct. What is pineal body? It comes under the epiphysis cerebri, which is a part of the diencephalon. So it is called epithalamus. If it is asked as short notes, this pineal body or epiphysis cerebri, you can include these points. It's a cone-shaped organ, about 8 millimeter in length and 5 millimeter in width. It has a stalk which is traversed by an ependymal pineal recess. So that is the pineal recess. This recess divides this stalk into this recess. This is the pineal recess. Divides this stalk into ventral and dorsal laminae. The former is traversed by the habenular commissure and later by the posterior commissure. Yes, this is habenular commissure and this is the posterior commissure. Posterior commissure. Next to the pineal body in the posterior wall, we have the posterior commissure. It contains mostly of the fibers of neocortex, which connects the middle and inferior temporal gyri of both hemispheres. So it may be the short notes posterior commissure. We have already covered the anterior commissure, habenular commissure and the posterior commissure now. Roof. Roof is formed by the ependyma that stretches across the upper limits of the two thalami. So this is two thalami. The upper surfaces of two thalami is connected by the ependyma that forms the roof. Anteroposteriorly, the roof extends from the interventricular foramen in front to the habenular commissure behind. The roof is supplemented above by the tela choroidea and also by the body of fornix. So the choroid plexus project into the roof. So this is the roof we have covered already. This is formed by ependyma, choroid plexus and also by the fornix. Now we will see the floor. So this is the floor. So here is the floor. Floor is, you should remember, this is the interpeduncular fossa, so which forms the floor of the third ventricle. That is, and that section you have seen in the previous picture. This is the intact brain. You can understand this floor structures in the interpeduncular fossa forms the floor of the third ventricle. Floor is formed from before backwards by the optic chiasma, tuber incinerium and infundibulum of hypothalamus, mammillary bodies. So these are all present in the interpeduncular fossa. And also posterior perforated substance and tegmentum of midbrain. What are mammillary bodies? Mammillary bodies are the part of the mammillary region of hypothalamus. Each mammillary body contains medial, lateral and intercalated nuclei. Lateral wall. Lateral wall is marked by a curved sulcus, that is the hypothalamic sulcus, extending from the interventricular foramen to the cerebral aqueduct. So that forms the lateral wall. So this is the hypothalamic sulcus, which extends from the interventricular foramen to the cerebral aqueduct. So that is the present in the lateral wall. The larger upper part of the lateral wall is formed by the medial surface of anterior two-thirds of the thalamus, and smaller lower part of the lateral wall is formed by the hypothalamus and is continuous with the ventricular flow. So lateral wall is formed by thalamus, medial surface and hypothalamus. So we have completed the boundaries of third ventricle in very detail, including the parts of the boundaries in detail. Now we will see the recesses of third ventricle. There are so many recesses in the third ventricle which may be again asked as short notes. The cavity of third ventricle extends into the surrounding structures as a pocket-like protrusions. They are called recesses. They are as follows: infundibular recess, optic recess, anterior recess, suprapineal and pineal recess. So they are the many which they are present in all the boundaries of the third ventricle. So in that we will optic chiasma, optic recess. So like that in the pineal, suprapineal and the pineal recess. So they are present in all the boundaries of the third ventricle. Infundibular recess is a deep tunnel-shaped recess extending downwards through the tuber syneurium into the infundibulum of the pituitary gland. Optic recess, it is an angular recess situated at the junction of anterior wall and the floor of the ventricle, just above the optic chiasma. Suprapineal recess, it's fairly a capacious blind diverticulum which extends posteriorly above the stalk of the pineal gland. So it's above the pineal gland, suprapineal. Pineal recess, it extends into the superior and inferior lamina of the stalk of the pineal gland. So we have completed the recesses. So we are now going to see the choroid plexus and tela choroidea of the third ventricle. Tela choroidea is a pia mater which is triangular in shape. So which intervenes between the corpus callosum and the fornix above, and the ependymal roof of the third ventricle and the thalamus below. So they project posteriorly. This choroid plexus of both lateral ventricles will extend posteriorly into the roof of the third ventricle. What is the applied anatomy of third ventricle? Third ventricle, being a narrow slit-like space, is easily obstructed by local brain tumors or congenital defects. So that can cause obstruction resulting in increased intracranial pressure in adults and in hydrocephalus in children. So we have covered the third ventricle in very detail, including very short notes in the boundaries of the third ventricle. So you go through this. We will see the fourth ventricle in the next class. Those who have not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe now. Keep watching the videos. Thank you.